So I just wanted to share kind of some images from some of the really awesome field trips we've taken already this year. You can see kindergarten, first grade went to meet with the mayor as part of their project. Then we had the second, third graders went on to the wetlands as they were studying invasive species. And then we had the fourth, fifth grade went to Ellis Island as part of their family history and immigration and all how folks got to America through the Ellis Island. And the middle school got to see SUFs. Thank you, Jill and Scott, who organized that for us and was able to get us 21 tickets to be able to send teachers and kids to the play SUFs as they were studying different movements throughout time. So including the suffragettes. So that was a fun fall so far. This is a picture of the K1 Pupville project, which was super awesome. And we've just got a lot of happy kids right now. So we're doing well. I just kind of wanted to share a few things that we are kind of focusing on. As you know, you probably have received notes from me asking to contribute to the annual fund, which is something that all independent schools have to do in order to offer all the things that we do offer. And as we're doing fairly well in our fundraiser this year, so we're looking to build in some language and cultural programming, which parents have been asking for. And so we're looking at different ways that we might bring that into projects and into classrooms. And then we have a new music teacher that, and we're looking to build up that program. He's now offering choir, which is a new thing here at the school. So I'm excited about that. And then we also got a donation of a very beautiful grand piano from a parent who's in the music business. So that's exciting to have that instrument in the lobby or in the rotunda. And so we're going to build out that music program. This is Stacey's take on how our piano actually feels or thinks of itself versus what it really looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the way the piano sees itself.
Yes, which of course is generated by AI, which we're going to be talking about later. So yeah, that was fun. We also started up student ambassador and alumni and parent ambassador programs. So they do tours for folks that want to look and think about coming to school here. And so it's been a great addition. The kids are awesome. They are very knowledgeable and can answer a lot of the questions. And now we're starting up with alumni and parents as well. So getting lots of voices in there. If any of you are local and interested in being an ambassador, I would totally start a grandparents ambassador program. If somebody wants to lead tours in school, I welcome you.
Ooh, somebody do that.
Yeah. And so kind of just big picture, I mentioned the fundraiser and a lot of, it's new as of last year. We've never run a fundraiser up to now, but looking to grow our programming, we need to. And one part of that is looking to build an endowment. An endowment is where we set aside money that we don't touch. And then as the pot grows, so to speak, you can then draw off of, this, what's the word I want to say?
Investment income and things like that.
The income. So the idea is that we start building a nest egg and so that we have safety and security financially. And as part of that, I'm actually going to do this soon. You can also donate through your stocks, which has a big tax benefit, which Stacey, you just contact Stacey for the delivery information, and then you work with your bank or your finance person to get that sent over. And so it's a win-win for the school and for us as donors. And there, I haven't looked, I think it's slightly higher.
It is.
$96,530 we've raised so far, which is great. So that allows us to really grow things in the school. Finally, here we have a movie screening happening if you're local again. It's called Chasing Childhood. It's a documentary about how childhood has changed through technology mainly. And then there's our spring fundraiser, which if you could travel out, if you're not local, but you want to join us, it's May 10th. That'll be a good time. We're meeting with parents tonight about a fourth and fifth grade project that's unusual. And it's called The Blue Room Tries It. And their concept is that they're going to create 2-week sprints of where they learn something that they really want to learn. And then they're going to document that will pan out into a 5-episode series of The Blue Room Tries It. So they've just been generating their ideas. And I think the first thing that they're going to do is learn CPR. A lot of the kids were interested in that. So, there's a lot of science and to teach through that. So they're going to be learning first aid and CPR. So I think that's a great way to start. And then you'll just have to see where the journey goes from there. I don't know what's next. And then finally, we're really excited. I'm partnering with Stacey's partnering with the middle school and myself for the middle school project, which we decided to think really big and go very ambitious. And so they are studying westward expansion in the Oregon Trail and, you know, kind of the development of America through the pioneers. And so the kids have decided they're going to build a wagon, an actual covered wagon. So they'll be building that at school. And then the big hope is that we actually take all of them out to Casper, Wyoming, and spend 3 days on the Oregon Trail riding in wagons and experiencing it for ourselves. So that does mean we'll have to do a little fundraising in there because that's not going to be a cheap project, but the kids are very invested in seeing if we can make this happen. So
Wow.
yeah.
And as the team began to think about that a little bit earlier, before the kids actually came up with the specifics of what they wanted to do, we knew that we were like interested in this space and in templatizing our approach to some of these big ambitious projects. And so the Kim and the administrative team wrote and got a $10,000 grant from the Vela Foundation to support this work. So that's very excited that we just found out about that about 2 weeks ago. So we've got a good start.
And this project also will be documented. We're going to create a documentary of their journey. So that'll be fun to see it from beginning to end.
That one is really exciting to me. I just think that's great. To act, you know, to go through the whole thing, but then to get everybody out and actually spend some time traveling the Oregon Trail is wow. What an example of, you know, project-based learning and what Hudson Lab School is doing and the opportunities and that it's. I want to go. I actually am planning on going. Why Casper, Wyoming? What's the
Casper, yeah, no, it's a town that's really embraced the history of that. So there's multiple museums, we'll work with an outfit that takes groups on tours in covered wagons with horses and mules rather. So it was just rich with lots of resources for us to be able to connect the kids and actually do this. There's many museums around the West, but in Casper, there's a concentration of things.
And it lines up well, pretty well. Not exactly right, but it lines up well to about where wagon trains would have been in June, which is when we anticipate trying to do this. So it's like about the right place on the trail for where the kids should be had they started in Missouri or something like that. So
let's have our final grandparents council meeting there.
Yeah.
And
like
do a kickoff, you know, wave
wave the class goodbye.
Good luck. Okay, thank you. That's really exciting to me.
Anything else, Kim? We don't want to cut you off.
No, that's all my sharing out, unless anybody had questions and want to know about something that I didn't mention already.
Yeah. How many kids will that be, Kim?
There's 14 middle schoolers.
Wow.
So, and then however many adults we get to go along. So yeah, it's exciting.
It really is. And has it started?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they have launched. The question that they're grappling with is, what would you do? How far would you go to follow your dreams, and who might be hurt along the way? And so they've already been learning a lot of the background of, you know, kind of the history of it. So they're very knowledgeable at this point, but now they're getting into families that are going to have to, it's a simulation where they have to create a family that's going to be a four that's going to be in a wagon together. And then they're going to have to like work through all the details of, you know, getting all the supplies and how are they going to pay for this and all the, you know, they're going to walk through it in a scenario where they are on the trail here, and then we're going to put them on the real one to grapple in real life.
And they're going to design the wagon and build it. Oh,
Kim, when you come up with a question like that, how far would you go to follow your dreams and who will get hurt along the way? Do the kids create those questions or do the teachers?
Depends on the project. It can go either way. In this case, it was probably pretty teacher led. Sometimes you reveal a question and get the kids on board with you, and sometimes you ask the kids to help craft it. So,
And a lot of times, I mean, Kim's right. And so like the Blue Room Tries It is pretty like kid driven, right? That was like, that comes out of their experience in the autumn and that they're excited, again, embodying, HLS kind of ideals of intellectual curiosity and wanting to keep learning
and growth mindset. They're talking a
Yeah.
lot about risk taking and growth mindset.
And so that's a real example. In this case, and in a lot of cases, while the teaching teams may come up with the driving questions, the actual expression of it remains, there's a lot of like voice and choice for the students to like figure out what that means. We just ask these big weighty questions to like get them to, again, be creative and think about those things and grapple with these. So the full title for that project is excuse me. How far would you go to follow your dreams and who might be hurt along the way? True Grit, The American Dream, and The Journey West on the Oregon Trail. So, and yeah, you'll hear, I think a bunch about it, but I also am just super excited about it because, so much of our mythology is wrapped up in this, the frontier and, going west and, and whether that's like the gold rush, the Oregon Trail, or like going out to, going out to Fullerton and teaching out there and getting better weather and like reinventing or like, continue, that the Hollywood movement. There's lots and lots of moments throughout history that's been such a thing. And so we're really excited about it. And all the many lessons, good and bad and tough to grapple with like along the way. And what do those things really mean? And who does it, again, part of embedded in that question is, who might get hurt along the way? And so we're investigating like what happened to the, Native American populations and who gets displaced in these things.
And they just read the Donner Party.
Well, yes.
And understanding how they were led astray by Hastings. So,
yeah.
Wow. And so the tie-in, just to tie it all together, True Grit, Fullerton, landing at John Wayne Airport in Orange County. Is it right?
Yeah.
In joke. Kim, every time we put a question to Kim Mishkin, Kim, do you get ready to answer?
I'm ready.
No, not that Kim.
Oh, that Kim.
Don't find too many male Kims, but
we
Or
did show
Stacey's.
the kids the movie True Grit this summer. We try to have a movie night when they're here, and they really enjoyed it.
That's cool.
Nice.
That's really cool. I like that.
Which one, John Wayne or Bridges?
Yes, John Wayne.
The real one.
Nice.
The authentic. So let's transition. Let's segue into the great rotunda with the piano in it.
Yeah.
And Stacey talking about generative AI.
Excellent. All right, let's see. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
All right. So this is an update on our series last year. We had an initial talk about generative AI in the classroom and in education more broadly. And so this is the kind of year later, what's gone on and what's changed. The agenda for kind of today's session was to recap. I'm not sure how familiar everybody is with generative AI, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Some of the new developments in AI. Then have a talk about what's going on, the kind of latest in AI in education and what the research says. The latest of what's going on and how we use AI at Hudson Lab School. And then what I'm hoping to do is mostly spend the time playing around with everybody. As mentioned, I promised an interactive session, so hopefully we'll get to use some of these tools. As a starting point, uh, how familiar are people with generative AI? When I say that, does everyone go, "Yeah, I get it"? Like, how many people are using Chat GPT these days?
Ah.
Okay.
Just me?
Only with you, only
Okay.
with you. Yeah.
I, I dip in occasionally, but not, I'm more aspirational than operational at this point, and I'm hoping to turn those two around.
That's cool.
I'm almost to the point where I use it just about every day,
Really?
multiple times a day. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Uh, how?
I use Chat GPT often to get my thinking started if I need to generate a letter or I need to write something up. It's really good for sparking my thinking. I use Inkwire just this morning to help teachers build out a project. You kind of put in a prompt and
We're
some
gonna show that,
guidelines.
yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, great. So you can see kind of what that does. Those are my top two right now, but I definitely have come to depend on them.
Yeah. And I saw Christine, I don't know if we have, first of all, welcome. I know that you're using AI and doing that and said, yes, you're using it. I'm curious if you're able to chat,
Yes.
share some, how are you using AI and what forms and programs?
Probably the thing I use the most are the image generators. I do a lot of designing of PowerPoint, other slides, and I find the image generators is really, I really enjoy it a lot. The other thing which I'm trying to find my link to this, a friend of mine has been working with the Institute of the Future to create something. It's not. It's like Wikipedia, only it's called What Ifpedia, and I can send a link for that. And they're using things like Claude and Chat GPT to create scenarios of things that might be happening in 10 years. And one of the reasons why I'm really interested in this is the daily news would otherwise have me so depressed I'd be crawling into a cocoon. And what's great about this is it's very uplifting. And so it's something you can do really without getting super involved, and it's a lot of fun.
That's really cool. Thanks for sharing. All right, so that's our agenda today. So again, quickly, what is generative AI? So, in a lot of ways, it's almost about thinking like a way of thinking about it is as if it is a child who is being trained and learning things. So these models, and Christine mentioned a few different ones. The Claude is from a company called Anthropic. We hear most frequently probably about Chat GPT, which is like the kind of public name of a set of models brought out by OpenAI. But these models are trained on vast amounts of information, similar to how, like, we teach our children lots of things by like having them read lots of books and experiencing the world and things like that. And then when you give these models a question or a prompt, and I think one of the key takeaways from this entire session is going to be like, it's all about the prompt. That it uses that knowledge to generate content, whether that's text or image or music or videos, and the models are just getting more and more sophisticated in the type of thinking that they do and the type of outputs that they can accomplish. And so you can kind of think of it as a highly advanced version of like the autocomplete on your phone, but like for almost any kind of task. Let's see, where's my next? So this was just kind of a graphic that like shows this notion about you kind of use this prompt, you ask it a question, and then it outputs something. And so a couple ones, ChatGPT mostly focuses, well, it started really in text. It will do lots of things now. Midjourney is a model that is really focused on image generation, and continues to be one of the leading ones in that space. So there's lots of different kinds of models. So we mentioned, a few of them, but you have a kind of like wide set here. So the ones that are you maybe most have heard of, but there's also, Meta has its model called Llama. There's a French company called Mistral, which has kind of Europe's leading model. There's DeepMind and Genesis from Google, and all of those kind of produce a wide variety of things, but they're largely their starting point is text. As we mentioned, Midjourney input is text, outputs are image, and basically name any kind of thing. There's like a model that is being used to do that, and then use text prompting to generate it. So you can do that for code, you can do that for music. There's a huge growth and sophistication of these kind of use cases and models for video and image generation. So what changed since last year? Um, and I'll even go this, but one key trend, the models have just gotten way, way, way more sophisticated. Well, even I looked at this slide and I was like, oh, I did a terrible job on this slide, and so I dropped it into a presentation making software called Gamma, which uses AI to build images and create better layouts. So it took that slide, I just gave it that slide, and it created this. So some of the key trends, the models are just evolving so quickly. There's and the advancement, their capabilities are just basically increasing more or less exponentially still, although there's talk about, are we hitting the upper bounds, or the efforts required to continue that growth at this pace are huge, which brings us to, oh yeah, sorry, OpenAI is like one of them, that the investment into this space is enormous. You may have heard over the last couple of days, the government, or some different programs announced for 100 billion in investment into the sector, 500 billion of investment into the sector. Morgan Stanley research analysts, even before those announcements, had estimated that in the U.S. there would be about 300 billion in investment this year alone into the infrastructure needed to support these models. So a lot of money. Over the last year, we're seeing more and more like AI just begin to be included into everyday items. So consumer electronics and things like that. So it's becoming more pervasive in things that we're all interfacing with. We've seen huge advancements, as I'd mentioned, in AI video and video generation tools. So that area is getting much more sophisticated. And companies are really beginning to use these things. I was talking with an executive at a big beverage company, and they pretty much have, cut millions and millions of dollars out of their advertising spend and their spend on agencies by bringing that in-house and creating their own content and training their own people to be able to create the content that would have been used, that an outside agency would have used for that. So lots of changes in those fields. And as I mentioned, like the we're seeing it more and more in just like everyday devices that we've got. So this was Apple announced like its integration of Apple Intelligence into its latest devices. I mentioned huge investments in this space. And of course, all of this is among like a continued backdrop of questions about, AI legislation, regulation, should the public trust this, and so these are kind of key questions that will continue to press, I think, as we grapple with the impact and implications of these technologies. But there's been a lot of, continuing questions in bias and fairness, the kind of differences in regulations around the world, and there's a lot of, friction and frustration over that, and is anyone doing enough? Of course, data privacy and ownership, who owns who, like, how do where are all these models trained, all those kind of things, and the like public trust around those issues. This is, again, it's just popping up everywhere. This is, Google pushing on us. This is Gemini, their model and their kind of thing. So this is just from my email. Like, I didn't ask for this, but it's there.
Hmm.
All right, quickly on AI and education and the latest developments here in this. We are going to play a quick video, but I gotta switch my screen to do that. Do, do, do. So you guys can see this still?
AI is that nobody really knows what these systems could do. I talk to OpenAI all the time. I
Is
talk
it loud
to
enough?
Anthropic and Google and all of these teams. And one of the really interesting things about the current state of AI is that nobody really knows what these systems could do. I talk to OpenAI all the
Louder,
time. I talk to
Stacy.
Anthropic
Oh,
and
louder?
Google and
Sorry.
all of these teams.
How do I make this louder? Let's see. Let me try that. Sorry about that. Share sound. Try that. Optimize there. And where is my output volume? Who's got questions while I'm figuring out?
I like your screens better, Stacy.
Than
Yeah.
the AI generated ones. That's because us grandparents are used to just seeing charts and lists.
Yeah,
Right.
Well, the problem, and Stacy said that earlier, the problem with some of these applications is the first try isn't always the best. You need to kind of refine what you're doing. And in fact, I've also used that application that Stacy used to create the chart, and I found it to be really, really useful with a lot of good graphics. So don't doubt it yet.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna try this again.
Things about the current state of AI is that nobody really knows what these systems could do. I talk to OpenAI all the time. I talk to Anthropic and Google and all of these teams. And when OpenAI released ChatGPT, they didn't realize they destroyed all homework. I'm a professor at Wharton, and I study innovation, entrepreneurship, and AI, and education, and the future of work in AI. From a teaching perspective, you really have two choices. One is ban AI use, which is actually a legitimate answer, right? That's how we teach math. For a while, we banned calculators, and you still have to do work by hand in some cases, and in other cases, you use calculators. We can do English composition the same way. You'll do a lot more in-class testing, which turns out to be a very powerful technique, a lot more in-class assessment and work, and outside of class, use AI in different ways. Or you can embrace AI, the way I have with my classes. I have AI tutors and AI mentors. There's assignments that the AI builds simulations for you. You co-create material with it. That's a little bit harder to do. In the end, education is going to be fine because we actually know that the kind of education that the AI is endangering the most, which is sort of didactic, I stand up and tell you things, was never the most effective way to educate. The most effective way to educate was a active learning experience, often built around flipped classrooms, where you learn outside of class, watch videos, or in this case, get AI tutors, and then inside of class, you would actually have the experience of working with other people and applying your work. So I think education is going to be fine. I think the crisis is actually not going to be inside universities, it'll be outside of them. There's only two related questions that matter in the world right now from the AI perspective, which is how good, how fast. This is the worst AI you're ever going to use. Everything you're seeing is already obsolete. And I think people aren't used to exponential change, and we've got to get ready for that. So for students, right now, we don't know what AI is going to be good or bad at. So I tend to say become an expert. Expertise is actually more important than ever because that's how you compete with or work with the AI as you get as good or better, so it becomes a multiplier for your work. In most technological revolutions, we see transformation of work, not wholesale replacement. I think there are some jobs that are probably more vulnerable than others, but the only way to learn what AI is good or bad at is to use it a lot, use it for everything. This is something you have to pay attention to because I don't have the answers. No one does, but you need to start experimenting yourself.
All right. So that was Ethan Mollick, who is a professor at Wharton, who I like really a lot, and I think is one of the kind of very sophisticated and thoughtful voices on AI in education. And the important things in that video for me are the like kind of key takeaways are that like we have to try the AI that we're all using is already obsolete, right? Like that this stuff is changing so fast, and the things that are not released to the public and that are going on are like leagues, light years better than what we're seeing. And again, the pace of change is so quick. Two, that we got to be thoughtful about how we use it in education, but students are going to be fine. Education is going to be fine, and everything will kind of like adapt. But he really encourages people to use it and try it. And so that broad strokes is what we are doing at Hudson Lab School, and we'll talk about kind of like how that plays out.
Hey, did you say homework is dead? Oh,
Homework is dead. There you go, Jill. This is a chart of different different models, these different generative models did on different key, you know, like higher education or higher thinking kind of tests. And so these are kind of the different colors are different models. Claude, which is Anthropic, or ChatGPT, which is OpenAI, is the kind of reddish, orangish one. But you can see from the LSAT to the SAT to AP biology, like to, in a lot of cases, like the combined models can get 100% on the AP bio test, right? Like world history done. Like so yes, homework as we think about it traditionally is dead. These models can solve and know all the information that is out there. Quick note on illusions. Sometimes, though less these days a little bit, but people think like, oh yeah, there's like AI detectors, or there's this notion. There's a lot of people going out peddling software to schools saying like you can detect it. The answer is you're not. You can't. The models can't detect each other. People can't detect it very well. It isn't there. So again, homework is kind of dead. But really interesting, and this is where we're really focused. There's more and more like real academic research coming out, and it shows that if students use generative AI to do the work for them, well, no surprise, they do worse, right? If you're just having it do the work for you, if you have it take the AP bio test, like it does fine, but if you try and take it yourself, you don't. However, if students learn to create the right prompts to have AI help train them, then they do better on tests, right? And there are academic researchers who are doing this. They're doing, giving different groups different, materials and things, and allowing them to both study and execute. They're doing controlled experiments on it. And the students who use AI the right way get better at the exams and do better in the work. And then most importantly, if the teachers are trained to use generative AI tools and then support the students using them, the students also do better on tests. And so this can be a very powerful tool to help our teachers be more effective, better at their own practice. And again, key thing from all of this, it's all about the prompts, and Christine kind of reinforced this, is like you like the key is to like learn how to interact with these tools. I'm not going to go too into this in the name of time, but like this all goes back to this notion of like what is the right prompt. And so this is the kind of thing that we've been doing in kind of professional development sessions with our team, which is like helping our team understand how to interact with these tools and create the right sets of prompts. Right now, to the extent that people like use a lot of these tools, a lot of times they kind of treat them like Google. So they go to ChatGPT and they like ask it a question, or they say like, hey, could you write a song for me? What you learn is that if you are much more sophisticated in your prompt, so rather than saying, hey, ChatGPT, can you be my tutor for this, Oregon Trail project? If you give it this prompt that tells the AI how you want it to be, you're an upbeat, encouraging tutor who helps students understand concepts by explaining ideas and asking students questions. And then you give it more instructions, step-by-step instructions. Start by introducing yourself to the student as their AI tutor who's happy to help them with anything. Only ask one question at a time. First, ask them what they'd like to learn about. And you can kind of see, like, this is way more information than the average person walks up to ChatGPT and says, like, be my AI tutor, or like, tell me about the Oregon Trail. So this is a really important kind of concept. All right. Kim, I'll ask you for kind of assists in here as we go through this, because I think it's, Kim's been great about really embracing this. And in fact, when we introduced some of these tools last year or a year and a half ago at Hudson Lab School, I will say, like the first time we did it, the reaction from the teachers was pretty intense. There were a lot of feelings about it,
Yeah.
and I almost got thrown out of the room.
Yeah, it was like awkward, and everybody was just like, what is he talking about?
And not only that, just like a real, at least to me, it felt like there was a real, people felt threatened about their job. Like is my job going away? And the answer is like really, no, not at all. In fact, these tools are ways to like really help you like, you in your practice, the students in the right ways to support their work, and the school overall to continue to achieve our mission. Um, so what we've been doing is working with teachers to support their practices and teach them in regular sessions how to learn, use these tools to accelerate their work. We've been working with students to learn about when and how to use generative AI. So there's a big, like when is it appropriate? And then when it's appropriate, how do we use it? And again, I sound like a broken record. It's all about the prompts, right? So making sure that they're learning how to write and create good prompts. So on the teacher side, we've been running regular professional development sessions with the team. We're also providing access for and have gotten some grants and things to use new tools. So Kim mentioned one called Inkwire, which is a project-based learning project planning tool, and I'll show you a little bit about that in a moment. We have another one called Lenny Learning. What's the story with that, Kim?
So Lenny Learning is, you can go in as a teacher and build any sort of social emotional lesson that you want. So if you have, let's say your class is, there's a behavior cropping up that you really want to redirect. Let's say, gosh, I could just open it. I've created a lot of
Oh,
lessons
yeah. I
in
mean,
there.
I've got it, right? So,
Yeah.
I even can do this. Here we go. Here's Lenny Learning. And so this was a prompt that one of our teachers was working on to do a mini lesson within the project that we are talking about. I don't know if there's a particular one that you want to go to, Kim, but
No, I'm pleased to see a bunch of people still,
oh,
getting in here. Mindful movements. If you want to create
like
a lesson around
look, yeah, it's great.
motivation.
Look at the team, just all sorts of things that they're creating in here. Conflict
Yeah.
resolution challenges, respectful speaking in action, like
Mhm.
kindness storytelling adventures, right? So,
Yeah.
no, it's super cool. I was excited when I
SEL
was.
stand for again, SEL?
Social emotional learning. So it's, kind of all those skills about how to collaborate, how to, get along with each other, how to manage your feelings. Um,
I'm just going to
eh,
reshare this in a way that people can see the materials a little bit easier.
oh, there you go. There you
Yeah.
go.
So, and then we talked about Inkwire. So Inkwire is this project planning tool. And so when in generating, in using this, it's actually really, it's very, very cool. And maybe I can, if I can do this editing. What we did is we went in and put in things like our driving question and like the name of the project. And then we can go in and write up what our initial idea of this project would be. And then what's really cool is it already has built into it all the different standards from all sorts of different, well, I got to choose a subject area. So maybe I'll choose social studies. And then New York performance standards, the National Council for Social Studies, and then specific state standards that have been implemented in the system. And so you can go in, we're in New York, so I can go in here, choose a grade level, and then it puts together all the different standards that are at these different grade levels. And I can go in and as the teacher and say, all right, I want to cover, in this case, geography and climate influence migration and the cultural development of Native Americans in North America settling into different regions and develop distinct cultures, right? So this goes to the part of the question that we were talking about, who gets hurt along the way, and the like displacement and destruction of the native cultures in the westward expansion in this country. And you can do that across all these different disciplines. And so once you've done that, then you can have it create a project or a lesson. You can talk about the duration. And once you kind of like do all these things, it begins to then take you through a set of questions that we then like answered. You can get feedback or iteration from using AI to do that. And then it will generate a kind of one pager about it. And then if you want it to, it will go and generate like a whole project plan. And again, all of these are starting points. And that's like the main thing. And so we continue to refine and iterate. It's not replacing or doing the work, but as Kim talked about, there's good starting points. It's easier to be an editor than to like generate it all yourself. And so it really has made our process of planning much more robust and much faster, which is leading to a bunch of these kind of cool projects. Anything else to add on that, Kim?
No, I just find it like it thinks of things that you wouldn't.
Yeah.
So it's been a really rich tool because it's just improved. We may have an idea and it's just like, you know, enriches it so much. Christine
Yeah.
has a question.
So does Lily, maybe.
Yeah, two things. One, I think what you just said is really important. People have to understand that an individual can do all of this without AI, but it will take much longer. So if you use AI as a tool to help you with your research and with the information you need, you just get it done much more quickly and maybe in a richer way. So I think that's really important to remember. The other thing, which I don't know, maybe you're going to talk about this, Stacey, you're going to talk about bias issues.
There's definitely, I was not going to talk about it necessarily because like I'm already noticing I've got 10 minutes to play, but it's a huge issue in here. So I'm curious to get your point of view and thoughts on it, definitely.
Well, it's still a huge problem, and people who are using these tools need to be aware of that. For example, I head up a book club, and I was trying to put together a graphic about the book club, and I use Midjourney. And so when I put in things like, book club, male and female, I don't know, there were a whole bunch of prompts. What I immediately got was a whole group of white people
Yep.
in a book club. So, I had to go back and add diversity and add age as another thing because they were all young white people. So those biases are there, and it's really important to be aware that you're going to get that and to figure out ways around it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And
Agreed.
Christine has her hand up.
Well, no, that's Christine.
Lily had a question.
Lily.
Oh, I had a question, Stacey. I assume that this lesson planning tool also covers special needs students so that you can get quick modifications as well.
Lenny Learning specifically asks you what accommodations are needed or what you can even just put in, I have ADHD students, and it will make accommodations for that.
Oh, great.
But I imagine at Inquire, you would just have to put it in the prompt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like a great use case for, again, how this can speed up the differentiation of a lesson or things like that because it's got those kind of standards placed into it. That's
Yeah.
a really important point.
Kim,
All right, I want to share one more thing, and then we're going to play for all of like 10 minutes, but we can do another session. But I want to share an example of some of the student work. So we've been working with like the middle school to learn about different tools, and particularly in support of their projects. And we encourage like using AI to like, how can we use AI to encourage their thinking and support creativity? Like not like using the tools, not replacing the thinking or replacing creativity, right? How do we use it in service of those things? So in the autumn, the middle school project, the driving question was, should our rights change as the world changes? And that was, again, a way into the like history of, we covered the like founding documents and the founding moment, the Revolutionary War here in the US. As Kim talked about earlier, we covered then change makers throughout, like between then and the present, right? So like the suffragists and the suffragette movement, and lots of different moments along the way. And in particular, we looked at the like through three different lenses. One, the environment; two, technology; and three, representation. And like looked at those changes and looked at rights and how they changed along those, or like being changed by our changing views of through those lenses. And then we asked the students, in the exhibition, they covered the past, the present, how we got to the present, but we also asked them to push into the future and think about what does it mean like in the future, and what are different questions that we might be asking 50 years from now about how maybe our rights need to change. And so one of the students, Elodie, talked about in the lens of representation and technology, how maybe eventually AIs or robots have rights. And in fact, they might end up like running for office one day. And so she created a bunch of campaign advertisements and characters and things uh, to be these, future candidates. And she created these characters. So she used image generators to like create this like robot. And she did a number of different ones. And then she used a acting a software called Runway, where it captures your motion and voice and everything. And she did the acting. So this is actually Elodie animating this character.
I'm an artificial intelligence generated futuristic presidential candidate designed to optimize governance through data-driven strategies. My focus is efficiency, innovation, and fairness. I prioritize solving social challenges and using advanced technology while promoting equality and sustainability. Together, we can compute a better future.
And what's interesting is, like, again, that was her acting. You can see she's actually reading a lot of this. We got crunched for time at the end of the project. And like, if I had another week with her, I would have had her like doing, way more expression and looking at the camera and stuff. But I actually love it as an example here, because that animation is not like, it is what, the camera watched her gestures, saw that she was reading. At the end, she like looks up and smiles, right? Because she kind of realizes that she's been reading. And of course, we did multiple versions and added in different voices and all sorts of things. So it's kind of a cool way of like incorporating and beginning to learn about the types of things people can do with the technology.
Did we already talk about the voice one, like Eric's experiment from last year?
No, why don't you? I
So-
don't think so. No, I don't think we
Yeah.
heard that
I'll
one.
just briefly mention it because it was fascinating. So there's AI now that can copy your voice. And so we did an experiment where we had the students were trying to determine that another student, whether it was the robot talking or whether it was the actual human talking. And it was tough. It can mimic you. It's wild.
All right. So we get to play a little bit for a moment. Midjourney, who I promised an interactive session. So who has got a prompt for me to create an image that they're interested in?
A tree in an ice storm.
Can you give me any more details about that?
It's a pine tree in the northeast part of the country, and it's not very old. It is early morning, and after a night of ice, and the sun is just starting to sparkle the ice that has clung to the tree.
So there you go. Like, that's pretty amazing. I feel like that could be out in our field.
How about adding some children dancing around the tree?
Perfect. So what I'm actually going to do, I like it. But what I'm going to do, and I often am doing this with my prompts. So I've done a few things here, which is like, I've kind of told it why I'm like was giving it some background. This is a big thing with prompting, particularly with these models, is you can tell it how you want it to act, right? Act like a tutor, act like an expert in real estate, act like an expert negotiator. You can act like an analyst at an investment bank. You can like tell it the mindset that you want it to have, and then have it do what you're asking. So let's see what it comes up with. There we go. So this is the new prompt. We'll go back up here, drop that in. Oops, I gotta switch my share. And yeah, so there you go. You can begin to see. So pretty similar. We get some kids in there. Anyway, and so you can begin to see like it does amazing things, and then you really need to like begin to work on refining it. And they actually have tools in here where you can mess around and like adjust the imagery in here. What's pretty amazing is you can actually give it like camera, and Scott, you'll appreciate this. I don't know if there are any other photographers or videographers, which is you can actually give it camera instructions like an f-stop or a wide angle lens, or like you can kind of treat it as if it was a video camera or a camera and tell it the picture you want it to take, and it will make those adjustments and deliver that. So that's Midjourney. I had like 10 other things for us to go and like play with, ranging from this is in Runway, which is a video app. We have Sora, which is another video app.
If we do this again, Stacey,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've used any of the apps that will write music based on your
Well, that was
text prompts.
Oh, he has.
That's where, oh yeah.
That is so much fun. We should do
Yeah.
that.
Exactly. So we love Suno, which is what we use. I actually use it a lot. Like if we have a moment with the kids or things like that, we've done a bunch of things like Amaya's Pet Parade. Just a quick version of that. Do you have a prompt for us, Christine? Or does anyone want to give us the type of song? A prompt for writing a quick song here is our close.
Well, it should be about Grandparents Council for sure.
Okay.
And it needs to be grandparents' style of music. Sinatra.
The Rat Pack.
The Rat Pack.
It might that might interpret it. I'm not sure it knows Rat
Yeah.
Pack.
Okay. That prompt.
Maybe how we're learning together.
From the initial introduction, if you will, to staff about using AI to today, has there been wide? What's the acceptance been, and what's the curve been?
They've done a 180. Like Stacey's worked with us several times now and will continue to. And you saw all the teachers popping into Lenny Learning, right? Like, so they've definitely embraced that. And we got a grant for that one. And then in the office, we use it constantly. So I would say everybody has really wrapped their arms around it.
Okay, Stacey, you ready to play us out?
Well, yeah, I'm going to play us out. You can see, like, we just did 5 seconds of animating this tree a little bit, but it's pretty amazing. And yes, to close out things today, we'll go back over to Sora and we'll try the Grandparents Council swing.
Grandma's got her spectacles perched on her nose. Grandpa's tapping his foot with his Sunday clothes. They gather round the table at Hudson's Great Hall, learning about AI and they're having a ball. They sip on some tea while they hear about bots, discussing algorithms, tying virtual knots. With a grin and a wink, they're catching the drift. Generative AI giving students a lift. Hey there, kiddos, just look at us now. Grandparents learning new tricks, wow. We're here to support with knowledge and cheer, making school projects brighter with each passing year.
We will distribute the entire song plus the there's an alternate take here, so we'll find out what the story is with that. And it's if you heard, it's now committed you to every Tuesday. So
Right. It doesn't get better than this. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Stay warm. Stay safe. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.